the original Season 4, Episode 3, The Haunter of Ruins. I really enjoyed this episode. I actually liked how it had such a huge focus on Vincent as a character, and even his past we get to see Eva again, which is really funny now, because the actress has been like all up and down the second season of Legends of Tomorrow, so it's really funny because CW does this all the time where they always have actors from one show, and it's like they hire like two dozen people total, and then they're like, just put them on that other show. They're dead in this one, just move them to a new one. So it's kind of funny seeing her officially being both at the same time now. But I thought it was great. I thought it was a really good episode that, you know, kind of jumped back in time. And of course, we still have the originals in this episode, naturally. But I think my favorite part just was the focus on Vincent, because they seem to be doing a lot with his character now. Like, he's always been a part of it ever since, you know, his body was taken over by Finn. He's been an important character, and now that he's his own man again, we had, you know, an important role with him and his wife, with her having been taken over by Rebecca, then kind of becoming her former self, being super crazy. And now this thing that kind of made her super crazy in the past, we find out is something, just some old, it's so old it's not even the ancestors, it's older than old. And I thought that was really cool. I was like, I like this very mysterious explanation. We still don't know what this thing is. It was so powerful that somehow it caused Vincent to write an entire book that he, you know, knew nothing about. And I just thought that was really cool. And it talks about how, you know, this drive to protect Eva and their unborn child led to, you know, his wife going insane. Like, that's what led to her becoming like this supernatural horror story a little bit. And I was like, that's sad but also entertaining to watch. So it was just really cool how they go through the explanation of that, and how he's now kind of being taunted by whatever this madness is. And they even have it like at the end of the episode where, you know, he does everything he can to try to cure his wife, and, you know, he believes that she was taken over by something, but it was more, you know, she wanted power than anything else. And as she's being kind of dragged away, she's like, oh, you got away, or you didn't really get away, it just let you go because it kind of wants you for later. And I'm assuming now is that later, and I'm really looking forward to what they're going to be doing with Vincent early on in the episode. When Marcel picks up the book, he's like, weren't you just dousing this in lighter fluid earlier? He's like, if I try to come for this book in any way, I just need you to kill me. So very excited for where they're headed with his character. I just thought that he had a really good a developmental arc in this episode, so I really enjoyed that. Of course, we have the originals. We have two stories kind of going on there, because we have Haley, who is dealing with, you know, of course, them having this woman in order to, you know, have just an unlimited amount of venom to help cure the originals. She's trapped. There's this woman who is a wolf, and she's trapped, and Haley doesn't feel too great about that. And so she's having a bit of internal struggle with that, because the wolf thing has kind of been absent for her for quite some time. It's been 5 years, and even before that, they're mostly dealing with Marcel. The wolf thing was like this season, you know, before last, where it was a bigger deal. And it's kind of, you know, fallen to the wayside. Things have kind of, you know, balanced themselves out a little bit, and Haley's just kind of been doing her thing. So they really brought it up a lot in this episode, which I liked. I actually liked that they brought up, you know, her heritage, and they mentioned it like 3 separate times about her being like, you know, it was like, oh, the wolf queen who abandoned her people and that sort of deal. And I was like, I like that they mentioned that quite a bit in this episode. And she struggles with it, and Elijah helps her with it. It's like, hey, this is going to eat away at you. Like, you're better than us. You're way too good to have Michael's in heart. So, you know, he convinces her to let this woman go, and she does. And it's like, it's better. It helps her feel better, and, you know, it doesn't kind of drive her insane. So I enjoyed that. Very interesting moment between her and Freya. Like, I think this is the first time they've actually argued with each other, which is crazy, because they're typically the two nicest characters out of all of them. It's like, they're the calmest. They typically think things out. And they were about to duke it out a little, especially with Freya. It was like, hope is a Michael said, and you are, and Elijah came in at the perfect moment, because that Ewer would have hit, and after that it would have been guns blazing. But I really enjoyed what they did with the kind of that small rivalry, and then of course Freya hunting this woman down. It was just crazy. I was like, man, she's really going after this woman, and she's freaking out because she doesn't want her family to die. So I do like that dynamic of it, and just kind of seeing what they're going to do with this female wolf, especially after she gives this crazy scientific explanation as to how she basically chemically suppressed her werewolf genes, which also made me think she could do the opposite if she wanted to. It was like, oh, I'm in danger, let me just like drink a little vial or something, and then she's like, you know, super wolf mode or something crazy like that. So I was like, that's a very interesting concept that they've kind of added in. So that seems to be where they're headed for the next episode, based on the promo, kind of using science in order to suppress what is the supernatural. So really like that idea. I'm excited to see where they go as far as that route, and magic blending with science and vice versa. So that I'm excited for. Of course, a big chunk of this episode was devoted to Klaus finally spending time with his daughter, which is pretty cool. They actually paint together, and he sees her use magic and stuff like that, and she talks about how she can't exactly control it. She has the little bracelet which she takes off. I'm assuming that's like a magical suppressor. But it was cool. You know, she heals the little butterfly, and he's like, you know, he's happy to be with his daughter. I thought that was really cool. I'm still trying to figure this out. I know you guys can help me out with this. I'm still trying to remember how the F that girl came out as a witch when she's like, I mean, did that come from her grandmother? Because I really cannot remember why she has witch powers instead of being, you know, either a vampire or just coming out as a hybrid. She came out full-on witch, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that was because of the spell that I can't even remember their mother's name, but I'm pretty sure that's why she has magic powers. But I'm like, I swear I could not remember. I'm like, how did this work again? But it was a good episode. You know, we got to see the emotional side of things with Klaus finally meeting his daughter. We get to, sadly, see two of the originals take off. I mentioned in the last episode, Claire Holt's name was special guest appearance. So I knew Rebecca was leaving soon, and sadly it was this episode. So both Rebecca and Cole take off, and they're going on a grand adventure. You know, they kill a dude in a random car, or Rebecca does, because she's like, I knew you would like this car. So they take off, and we'll see them later. Unfortunately, they're gone at this point. I was kind of surprised that the actor for Cole was gone, because he's really been in it quite a bit, and I was just surprised to see that he actually took off. But for the two of them to be gone, of course that really sucks. It doesn't ramp up the danger factor, because of course you have two less super powerful characters to help out. So it definitely ramps up you know, some of the tension once they have to go back to the city, which is what they're going to be doing in the next episode. And I cannot wait to see, because I know this is going to fail. The big thing was, okay, we have, you know, this, whatever this crazy magical thing is, trying to get all these children. It has to be like very loved things to be sacrificed, and so that's why it's children. And so they save all these kids. They find out that Hope is actually tied to this. Like, that's why she was feeling sick just like the kids. I'm assuming it's because she was far away from the magic. That's why it didn't have the same effect on her where she was like completely passed out. Like, magic can be based on distance and stuff like that. So that could have been a part of why she didn't like instantly pass out. So of course, in order to make things work, the originals have to head back into town, and Marcel doesn't want anybody to know that they're coming back, and we know that that's going to fail. Like, that's just almost guaranteed. It's going to fail. So I'm curious how that's going to play out. Who's going to be controlled, you know, by the next episode, because we find out that the cop who shows up in this episode, I believe his name is like Kenny or Kinley, something like that. We find out by the end of the episode that he's actually under control. So he stops the ambulance as it comes along. He kills the guy, takes the truck, and takes the kids. So they're still most likely going to end up being sacrificed, and that really sucks. But now it's just like, who do they trust? What random characters are going to come into play that are being controlled? Like, it instantly makes me think of Marcel's assistant, even though she's been, well, so is the cop. He's been there for years too. So characters that have been there all this time, who knows how they get taken over? It's just, poof, you're under this random blue aura thing's control, and you do as it says. So now it starts to come down to who can they really trust, what's going to happen in the future because of that. If, you know, this assistant does find out if she's controlled, does this magical entity want to have that news out there to cause a bit of chaos? So it's like, okay, and it's just, this is a logical thing, but if everybody's so focused on Marcel and the originals, they won't be nearly as focused on getting these kids back, or Vincent won't have as much help, you know, to get the kids back, because he won't have Marcel, who's dealing with his own thing as the entire quarter goes insane now that the Michelsons are back. And I'm looking forward to how that's going to play out, because I'm pretty sure people are going to find out. I think that's obvious. Maybe not in the very next episode, but somebody's going to find out something. news is going to spread and things are going to get really chaotic. So looking forward to what we're getting in next week's episode, but I really thought this was a great one. Like I said, I really love the fact that we got such a good focus on Vincent and how he seems like he's going to play a really big role in this season, and he may or may not even become a villain again if this thing does end up taking over his body and kind of, you know, imbuing him with this power that makes, as he even put it, it made him feel invincible. So I don't know, it seems like they might be leading towards he's going to be the one trying to help the most, and unfortunately, as he tries to do everything he can to help, he'll end up being controlled, and they'll have to end up stopping him because he'll be the vessel, like the perfect vessel for like this crazy entity. So looking forward to what they end up doing in this next episode. But of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about this one, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts, and I definitely want to know how you guys think things are going to play out now that the Michelsons, of course, are going back to the quarter. I mentioned in my premiere review, we all knew that they would head back. I legitimately didn't think it would be the very next episode, and it was just like boom. But I knew it was going to be this magical thing that, you know, of course, that's what would get them all back together, because they'd have to band together in order to figure out what's going on, in order to save Hope, and in order to get, you know, more answers. They would have to join up. So of course we all knew that was going to happen. I was still admittedly surprised that it was the very next episode. It was like they're out of the city, right back in the city. So looking forward to what we get next week. But like I said, we'll love to know how you guys think things are going to play out with the Michelsons going back to the city, how long that might be peaceful, when someone might find out, all your theories on that. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.